A message for Australia's newly elected Prime Minister Anthony Albanese from the campaign for victims of Australia's deadliest medical scandal, contaminated blood. Prime Minister, in 2003, the British Labor government made financial assistance available for the British victims of this infected blood scandal, which affected also other countries in the Commonwealth, of which Australia is one. The year that followed, a former Labor Senator, Steve Hutchins, a really good bloke, he actually helped me get a Senate inquiry. And the whole idea was that we'd match the British. We'd use the Senate inquiry as a way to demonstrate to Australians that victims of our infected blood scandal needed urgent assistance. Well, then what happened was Steve Hutchins was ousted before the inquiry even began, and he was ousted by the Labor left. And you guys replaced Steve Hutchins with one of your people, Senator Jan McLucas, who's now retired. So Senator McLucas comes in and derails the whole inquiry. The whole point was about getting Australian haemophiliacs and people who'd received contaminated blood transfusions some sort of assistance so that their health didn't deteriorate further and so that they could keep on living, keep on having a roof over their heads, food on their table. And do you know what your Labor left did? Yeah, they corruptly conspired to see to it that the inquiry found against helping Australian haemophiliacs or Australian infected blood victims. So British infected blood victims of the same scandal have had financial assistance for 20 years. What are the Australian victims of that scandal be doing for the last 20 years? Oh, they've been dying. Yeah, mates of mine have been dying. There's been abject poverty. There's been families like ripped apart. It's been hell on earth, actually, Prime Minister. And yeah, it's all to do with your Labor left faction. And I recently saw, or yesterday, there was an article about the British musician, Billy Bragg. You're a fan of his music, so am I. But you see, I'm old school. What I mean by old school is this. Mate, there's a lot of concern for the environment, right? Okay, of course, we should all be concerned for that. But the Labor Party spends its time obsessing about global warming and about everything overseas, the UN and so on and so forth. But what about Australians? I mean, hold on here. We had our worst medical scandal, okay, before the 2000s. There's tens of thousands of Australians infected and affected. We've watched on as victims and those around the world have been helped, and everyone in Australia is going, well, what about us here? And there's no help whatsoever because we're told by your government that our version of the infected blood scandal happened because of best science advice, best health advice. Really? Is that why your Labor government privatised one of the main culprits in a major hurry in 1994, the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories? How is their privatisation possible, Prime Minister, when your government, your Labor government, knew that they'd infected thousands of people with hepatitis C? It's in your own documents. It's in Commonwealth Serum Laboratories' own documents from the 1980s. And you didn't warn anybody? Hey, that's against the law. Yeah, that is. And so we really feel that, you know, this was to do with negligence. And we really believe that those infected and affected by Australia's infected blood scandal need financial assistance right now. They needed it 20 years ago. They needed it 30 years ago. But you denied it. Your Labor left faction derailed our campaign 20 years ago. And you had that Senate inquiry come up with arguments that if the Australian haemophiliacs, people who've been knowingly given contaminated blood treatments, if they were helped, it would send the wrong message to people who shared needles, people who illegally used drugs like heroin, crack and speed, and shared needles. It would send the wrong message. What absolute nonsense. What nonsense. We've got friends in our group that acquired viruses from other means. Not one of them has said, oh, because, you know, I got infected by one way, that means that people who were knowingly given contaminated blood by the Australian government shouldn't be helped. It's outrageous. Prime Minister, we're asking that you meet with us at your earliest convenience. I hope that you will. Perhaps you'll be too busy with discussions about the UN and discussions about the World Health Organization and their new pandemic treaty. But if you could find time for Australia, yeah, we'd like to meet with you. And if you are too busy, well, our message is we'll meet you in court anyway, because we're going to take this to court. What's happened here has been absolutely criminal. The Labor left okay, denied financial assistance to the Australian victims of the infected blood scandal, and it hastened deaths and people died. Now, as I've said before in my videos, we couldn't care what the politics are. Left, right, both sides of the political equation have betrayed the Australian victims of the infected blood scandal. So what we're doing now is we're asking the Australian Prime Minister and the British musician Billy Bragg's best mate, we're asking him to do the right thing and do what Billy Bragg says, that you've got socialism at the heart. Well, if that means compassion, let's see it. Okay, let's see it. So I'm hoping that our group, representatives from Infected Blood Australia, will get to be able to meet with the Prime Minister of Australia, such an important figure. Yeah? Where were you for us? Where are you for us? We'd like to meet you. And again, failing you being able to meet with us, we'll see you in court anyway, because what's happened has been bloody criminal. See you from Sydney, Australia. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, we could do with a better government to, go along with this beautiful view. Thank you.